Here we go with the people in the woods. Y'all, child, why do y'all always have to go in the woods? Knock it off. Hey guys, thanks so much for clicking on the video. This is my review for American Horror Story Season 1, Episode 6. And this episode is called Feral. And like I said, why do you always have to go in the woods? Damn you, Ryan. Anyway, you all know, if you've been watching me for any amount of time, you already know James, Spillitboy TV, hates the woods. I don't like the woods. I don't like anything that has to do with the woods. I don't go camping. I don't even entertain it. And I generally don't even watch things that about people in the woods. I just, something about the woods. If you ever want to get away from me and I get to chasing you, run in the woods, because I ain't coming. I'll get you when you come out on the other side, but I'm not coming in the woods after you. Anyway, let's get down to this episode. Before I get started, spoiler alert, because I'm going to tell a story. I'm going to tell this story. All right, American Horror Stories, and I hear there's only, I think, 2, maybe 3 more episodes left of this, and then we'll be going into regular American Horror Story, which makes me sad because I was wishing that, I was hoping that they would actually run parallel and I could watch them both. Ooh, that would have been a good time. But anyway, let's get down into it. Season 1, Episode 6, Feral, and it's F-E-R-A-L, Feral. Okay, so here we go. You got a couple, and have this cute little baby boy. He had to be about, I'm going to say about 4 or 5. Cute little boy. And they're on their way to go camping. And the first thing they did wrong, the woman says to them, and you can tell their marriage is already kind of rocky. You know the story, Annie. You know how the story goes. Marriage is kind of rocky. They're in their city living people. She really didn't want... See, again, when your first mind tells you to stay... Her first mind told her, don't go camping. Don't go camping. Nobody wants to play around in the woods. But he didn't talk to her into it. Oh, it's going to be great. Oh, we're not going to work. This, that thing, just, don't bring the work in. But you could tell the city life is working on the marriage. Period. But it is what it is. So, they kind of seem like they were kind of having some growing pains. But, that's natural. And then they got a new baby and growing pains. That's part of being married. You work through that part and then it gets greater later. But anyway, so they're on their way. First thing they did wrong is she says, well, how far are we? How far down are we? He going to say, all the way down by the lake. First mistake. And then you can see, like, when they pull in, I'm like, you are way away from where the people were. Because there were, like, a bunch of families and stuff. I said, no, that ain't too bad. Where everybody... They way away. Their marker's way down. And I mean literally by the lake. You got a little 4 or 5-year-old. You got a toddler. You have a toddler. Why are you... Because this little boy, he's a toddler. He's not school age. So he's got to be 4 or 5. He wasn't kindergarten, because kindergarten is 6. He wasn't school age. Why do you want to be that close to the lake? Do you know how fast children move? And y'all going to be sleeping down there? I don't think so. But then they showed some more stuff about them, that kind of... I said... I don't usually be attacking folks' parenting. I try not to. Unless it's, evident of what you're doing that's just out of order. But, listen. They set up their camp stuff and everything. They had the one that was cute. They had the one little camp for the little potty, the little porta potty. It had its own little closed-in thing. I said, that's cute. Now that's cute. And they had their little camp thing. And they were there that night. First night they're there. They out there doing their little cooking and stuff, and everything's real modern. You know, the stuff that they brought. And then they had their little lights, and everything was set up real cute. He put it together real nice for them. And then they go into the thing, and they got the baby sleeping into the same thing with them. They're zipped up in it. Earlier on, you seen something watching them. Like as it got dark, you seen something. It was something. I was like, what is that? Watching them. But that was that. And there were some sounds that she had heard. She's like, what is that? He said, oh, that's that. Don't worry about that. You ain't going to hear that when I get to take your clothes off. So here I go with my parenting issue. So the baby is in there with them. And y'all in there screwing. Where they do that at? Not a fan. I know people do that where they have their. I never could feel that. That just don't work for me. Even when it's babies in the room with you screwing. Screwing is an adult activity. No children allowed. I don't think that a child should be. If you can help it, they shouldn't even be in earshot of you getting down. I just don't agree. And I said what I said. If you don't like it, that's your business. Write it in the comments. And I'll go into your comment and tell you underneath your comment, I don't care. I don't like it. Okay? So a 4-year-old or 5-year-old in the same tent with you and y'all in there playing mommy daddy games, out of order. Anyway, now let me get down off my soapbox. Boom, 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 bam it. I'm back. And let's move forward. Nasties. Anyway, but they're doing their little thing, and then you see the shadow. He's so busy giving it to her, they ain't paid attention. You seen something go running by. Okay, so next day. Here we go with the next day. And this, I think this was reminiscent of like Roanoke, which I did not watch, you know, on the regular American Horror Stories. I didn't watch Roanoke. I was like, nope. Nope. Not doing it. I watched like the first episode and a half, and I was like, all these woods, I'm out of here. So I didn't watch that season, but I hadn't seen all the rest of them, but I didn't do that one. 1984, I just suffered through because there was a it was comedy. It was like Saturday the 14th, and not so much like Friday the 13th. Anyway, and this really gave me The Hills Have Eyes. Very much The Hills Have Eyes. Anyway, all right, so next day, they get up. Little boy's name is Jacob. They leave the mother. She done drank all this wine, so she was like already in her bag being evil. She went to go to the bathroom. He's going fishing. He's taking Jacob with him. Now, the lake is right there. Why they decided to go into the woods to play hide and seek, I said, see, here we go. Something get ready to go down. This is the stupid stuff. Mistake number 2. He's playing hide and go seek with Jacob out in the woods, and he loses Jacob. Okay? In the meantime, in between time, old girl that came out the bathroom, and she's seeing these bloody footsteps. And they're like big footsteps. But she sees these bloody like footsteps. She goes and follows them. Girl, why are you doing that? Anyway, she follows them because it's like close. It's right there by her stuff. She walks out there and she sees literally a mutilated deer. Like the top part's just all ripped off and it's hung up on a tree or whatever. Just disgusting. So that's it. You see that. Then they're down here and they're looking. And now it's a big panic because they can't find Jacob. And you see there's something watching. Something watching. So that's that. That goes on. Now we fast forward. It's been several years. Literally, it's been several years. I want to say like maybe gotta be probably 5 years. Probably 5 years. And we see Jay, which is the father, who he's attractive guy. He looks worn at this point. He looks really worn and just tired. And you see that there's like all these, he has these news articles about the little boy who is gone. He's just gone. He's gone. Um, I think they may have said it was 3 years. I think it might have been 3 years. But anyway, the baby boy is gone. It's made the news and all of this. So he ends up getting this visit from this guy, and the guy says his name is Hunter. And he's talking, and he's really talking like partially in code, just a lot of gibberish. And Jay was really skeptical of him, you know. And he's like, people are always reaching out to me, talking about they know stuff about my son's disappearance and all this. He really didn't trust him. He's like, what is it that you want? He's speaking about traffickers, the cartel. He's speaking about these growers, whatever growers are, and a growers camp. He's talking about that. And it's just like a bunch of mumbo jumbo. And he says, I got this picture. And this picture, there's these cameras that are set up out that way, further down into the woods over where y'all were, and this, that, thing, and the other. And the cameras caught this picture, and there's a boy here who looks like it would be about your son's age at this point. And he got this picture, and it's grainy and everything like that. And then he's like, and I found this. There was a compass. There was a Boy Scouts compass that he actually had given Jacob. He told him to hold that for him. So he had put the compass around his neck, and he went on. And he had this compass. And he's like, I found this. So that got him there. So what he says, well, what is it that you want? He says, I need like 10 grand, to get everything we need to go out here look at it. I'm like, what the hell do you need $10,000 to go traipsing through the wood? He's like, that's me, but I don't know about the cartel, the cartel and the growers. That's something totally different, or whatever. He's like, whatever. So again, desperation. How people are, desperation. So he goes to the now ex-wife. They done separated. We found out later she was in another relationship, which actually broke up because the person wanted to move on, but she's so screwed up. She was a teacher. She got so screwed up about the loss of her child and no closure, she couldn't even teach anymore. So I guess it really bothered her about even being around children and all of that. They've just really been tormented and just in a bad space, both of them. But she has money. He literally is like down on his luck, and he tells her, I don't have it. I just don't have the money, and I need it from you. And she's like, I don't want to hear any more of it. You need to let it go. He either drowned or he was eaten, something happened to him with animals in the woods or something. You got to let it go. And I need you to don't bring it to me because you're not letting me move forward. And then he shows her the compass, and that gets her on board. It gets her on board. So we see them with the guy, Burge is his name, the hunter. The guy Hunter, his name is Burge. We see them out there, and they're walking through the woods. They're trying to get down there to go through this thing. They got to go past they have to go, they hiked for a while out, and then they had to go past the ranger station, okay, the camp ranger station. Before they even get down there, they're like arguing. The two of them are arguing. And Hunter turns around and tells them, listen, this is not a marriage retreat. You all get your thing together when y'all get your thing together. And through all of that, it was like, they looking at him like, oh, okay. So then they get up to where the ranger station is, and you could tell they're kind of being watched. They're being watched. And then that's when we see Stan Vogel, who is actually the park ranger. Him and Burge get to arguing, and he's telling Burge, he's like, what you working on? What you got going on? Because you just full of bullshit. And he's saying, don't y'all trust him, and don't go into those woods. Look, he said there's a whole lot of things in the woods, because they're talking about the legend of Bigfoot and all that. He's like, ain't no Bigfoot, but there's things in the woods that's even worse than that are worse than what you could even imagine. Just leave it alone. And he says, I was here, he said, I've been around for a few years. I've seen some things that I can't even explain it. Just leave it alone. Let it go. It is what it is. But don't be This guy is he's a swindler. So Burge cusses Stan out, and he's like, y'all could just go with him or whatever. And he's like, whatever. So he's like, tell us. He's like, whatever. So they end up going on. He says, we're going. So they go on and they go. They go on and they go. And he ends up telling them, Stan ends up telling them, listen, I saw, you know, so when I came here, it was the day your son went missing was the day I came here. And I legally can't really say exactly what I saw, but I got like attacked and I got hit upside my head, and I swore I saw something carrying a small child back that way. And he's like, and again, he warned them of strange things in the woods down in those campgrounds, and said, you just need to just leave it alone. And that been years ago, so just leave it alone. He said, I couldn't even leave. The things were so strange that I can't even leave, you know, and legally I can't say no more. So they went on, and they went with Burge. They're like, if there's a chance that something's down there about, you know, the closure or whatever, we're going. So they end up going, and Stan's just like sitting there looking. And then we see Stan. He's looking down there as they're walking, and he goes and he gets the shotgun. Now, I thought he was going to go trail behind them. He ends up getting the shotgun, and he loads the shotgun. And he's like, okay, so that's that. As they get down there, it's a setup. It's a whole setup. We get down in these woods, and Burge goes around this bend and looks. Everybody is dead. They're just like all like, people are like bloody and mutilated. Child, they're dead. People are dead. We see they're being watched again. They're dead. And we see, it looks like a child, look like Jason Voorhees without the mask. Child, you don't see the face, but like blood covered. It just don't look right. Look, very Hills Have Eyes that is like following and watching them. I was like, what the hell is that about? So then as they get over there, see all of this stuff, and Burge, he's like thrown off. He's like, what the hell? So he ends up and he starts to telling them about the story of how he had actually scammed, he was scamming them, and these were the people, all the people were laying around dead. They were all part of this cartel. That what was supposed to happen is he get his $10,000. When they come down, the people were supposed to rob them and take all their credit cards and stuff and possibly dispose of them or whatever. But they were going to take their credit cards and stuff from them. And they're like seriously? This is what you were going to do to us? That's really jive. And then he tells them, get down. He said, I'm sorry, but I can't let y'all leave and get out. You know, y'all gonna die anyway. So I can't let y'all get out, child, and then the shit come back on me, and then there's all these other bodies. So he got to clear himself. So there's this one body that's laying up on top of this thing. It's like eye level with him. He's standing, it's behind him. And just as he's standing there with the gun, here's the gun on them, and they're like, no, we're not. He's like, get on your knees. They're like, no, we're not going to get on our knees. You know, this, that, and the other. And you see like a tear run down out of Jay's eye, like, this is it. This is, you know, all of this. And this is where we are going to be our final resting place. And it's so crazy. And then you started to see the bond between the couple, that they really still loved each other. They just, you know, was in a bad place. But all of that was going on at the same time. The writing and the acting was really, really good. But all at this time, all the dead people, then it was a oops. That the body that was laying up there, he wasn't dead, honey. He was undead. That's what been following and looking, and that's what been eating people, child. He reached over there and grabbed Burge, honey, and bit a chunk out of his neck, honey, and pulled it. I said, child. And Burge was looking like, oh, shit. And, child, he was shooting. And in the midst of shooting, he actually hit Jay. Jay and the wife, I don't know if I did get her name, But the couple take off. They're making it. They getting up out of there, baby. They rolling. They seen what happened, but they rolling. The thing gets a little preoccupied. Chez over there eating, and Bird sees like more undeads coming, and everybody doing a little eating, honey. Ate them up, honey. Ate them up. So what they actually are cannibals, is what they are. They got the sharpened teeth and the whole, very prehistoric, very, the hills have eyes. And they made a run for it. They make it up to the park ranger station. They get in there with him. He's like, what the hell happened? You know, I thought he was chasing behind. I thought he was trailing him, but he didn't. By this time, it's like dark. They make it up there, and they tell him what happens. He ends up explaining to them in detail that they are what's called the Farrell cannibals, that the government knows about them. And he says they exist in every campground. He said, you know how like over 2,000 people go missing in the forest every year, and like national parks. He's like, they exist in all of them, but they're basically contained. The government keeps them contained to that. And he said, you know, they don't know where their origins are. They could actually be soldiers that actually didn't make it back from the war, people, you know, that just kind of lost it, or they could be from prehistoric times and they did inbreeding and all. You know that whole story of like the hills have eyes, that whole thing. So he goes into all that, but he says, you know, the government is fully aware of it, and they do exist in every campground. And he was from Australia. So he even had the Australian accent. He's like, back in my country, we call them this, that, and the other. He's like, just some bullshit. But it's the same thing. They're cannibals. That's what they do, and they keep them contained. He said, didn't you notice anything strange about the search party whenever you came? He said, oh no. He said, see, I saw them. I saw them for myself. He said, you know, one time I went on a mission with them, and everybody didn't make it back from the mission, but we took a bunch of them bastards out. He said, and that's what happens. He said, didn't you notice whenever they came, he said there was like that one set of people that were like army, like they looked like army, like ground patrol, and they were dressed in the fatigues and all that, and they went on into the woods, and you never seen them no more. He said, yeah, because they went on a mission. Said what happens when stuff like that happens, they've gotten out of the containment, they've gotten too close to the the campgrounds, and they have to go down and do damage control and do you know, take out as many of them as they can, and fear, you know, create fear to push them back, to contain them. So but he explained it all to him. So he said, let me he was listening. He was going to the window and stuff, and he was listening. He's like, I'm wondering if they followed you, you know, this, that, thing, and the other. And again, he knew that getting stuck where they got stuck and how quickly they got back, that they're past the containment line. So he says, let me go ahead and I'm going to call. So, because we're going to have to go on another mission. So let me call. And he was like excited about it. You know, I was like, it's weird. And he literally had to, because he had shotgun, they had to pull the gun that they stole from Burge. They pulled the gun and pulled it on him to get him to give them the gun before they went through a whole exchange. Anyway, but they got the information. So he goes back to, he showed them the confidential file and told them, don't try to go public with this because I'll just deny it. And, you know, everyone loves and believes the park ranger. So that's that. So he said, let me go make the phone call and go ahead and get them to come on out so we can go on and get the containment line served and get things together. So they go on down. And the next thing you know, he's standing there and he's on the phone telling them, yeah, we got a little issue. You know, things is, you know, a line of handling, got a little too close. And as he's talking, he looks and he sees the window is broken. And he looks up. Baby, one of them damn things is up in the corner like a goddamn, like a bat, honey, clinging to the wall, and jump down there, honey. They are all deformed and just a mess, honey. And it got to getting at him, baby, and him and it. He was doing good though. You know, he's a soldier, so he was doing good fighting it, because he didn't have his gun. So he getting it and trying to fight. And while that's going on, then they bust in. They done surrounded them. They done bust in. They done got into the place, and they're out in the other room, and they're fighting, and he's shooting at them, and they're trying to attack the family. He's shooting at them. He ends up staying, beats that one down, kills it, and ends up making his way out to the other room, and is like, wow, we're surrounded. And he ended up falling over. He fell because he had some scratches and scrapes, but he fell, and baby, they just surrounded him. And again, they're real prehistoric, so they got preoccupied, baby. They ate him because they remember seeing him out here. He done jacked up a bunch of them before. He done did them over the years, so they was glad to get him, honey. And they chewed him up, baby. They was pulling intestines and throwing. It was a mess. They was eating him up. While they were doing that, the couple then crawled out the window, baby, and they making a run. They're making a run for it, but now they're in these woods and the dark, and they're making a run, and they get to a point. I don't even know what direction they ran, but they get to a point. You know, you're scared. They don't know. They make it a run and get to a point, and you see this chair looks like a throne, like this old prehistoric looking throne. And when they look up, you see this little boy that's looking real raggedy, teeth all messed up and sharp, and he's sitting there, and you look, and they're like, they look at him. He has the little thing around his neck. The real compass. It's Jacob. It's Jacob. And Jacob is now about 7 or 8. And he's sitting there. And they're looking at him. And they're crying. And they're like, Jacob. And literally, he's like a god to them. And everything stopped. And they literally have them surrounded at this point. They are just completely surrounded. And one of what looks like an elder comes up and says to Jacob, who are these people? But he says that, you know, they have their own speak, their own talk. He says to him, you know, we got the little subtitles, who are these people? And baby, he responded back to them, dinner, child, and they just jumped in on him, baby, and ate him up, honey. And he was sitting in the chair watching him, honey, and some blood splattered up on his face. And I said, ah! Nasty little buzzard, honey. And it was so funny that it came back to when it first started. He had a little drink when they were in the car, and his mom gave him the drink, and he put his little finger in it. She said, can you not eat with your fingers? Use your straw. And child, yes, he didn't like that, honey. Because he sure did. And when that blood hit his face, I said, ah! What? But that was it. It was a good episode. I'm glad I did sit through it because, trust me, when I seen the woods and I seen where we was going and I said, get ready to turn this off. But I'm glad I sat through it, honey. I did sit through it. Little Jacob, honey. Not so cute anymore. But anyway, it was good. I'm going to miss this when it goes off. I really wish this would still come on every week. And the other one, child, you can't never have too much American Horror Story. Anyway, thank you guys for watching. I'll catch you all next week. Later.